Good morning. We are on day 18 of our 21-day fast, and looking forward to these final days as the Lord begins revealing more and more of himself to us. You know, everything is valuable. Don't take anything for granted. What you're walking through, some of the various things that are coming at you are the Lord cleaning things out of you. They're here to wipe things away. They're here to resolve things. They're here to change your opinions about a lot of things. I was reading this morning about in 1 Kings 14:22, I believe it is. And it's where Micaiah is facing off with other prophets. And these prophets basically have come and they've got a consensus word. They've got something where they believe, oh, this is what God is now saying because it's the consensus. We all agree, and so you better agree. And Micaiah responds, he goes, I'm not going to say what you're saying. Prophets don't work by consensus or committee or agreement, and prophecy's not a democratic decision, and this is the right word because more people agree with it. He said, what my God says, I will speak. And there's something about that in our lives that sometimes the Lord even challenges our own belief systems, and he says things to us, and we're like, Lord, really? You know, this is hard. And sometimes he has us in positions where we're being asked to say things that nobody agrees with. And you know, the best thing is, well, man, just go with what everyone's saying. It's a whole lot easier. And I've become very aware of the fact that we're living in a world that is filled with compromise, that voices are few and far between, and that echoes are much more prevalent, that people can read a book and speak about a book and say, this is what God is saying. And I remember years ago somebody saying to me, you know, yeah, I read a book and that was how I got my call. And I'm not diminishing the fact that God can use anything to call you, but I was like, yeah, well, I got my call directly from a king. He spoke to me, he came and released something on me. And there are times in our lives where we need to understand that it's not about what you get out of a book. It's not about what you hear from somebody else. It's not the consensus. It's not the amount of applause that people are giving to a specific agenda or word or prophetic move or whatever. It's not about that. It's, what did God say? What's he speaking to you? Because in your gut, in the depths of who you are, what is he saying to you? Those are the things that you will be accountable for. They'll be the things that you'll be responsible for before him. One day, I don't give a rip what the prophets say and the apostles and whoever else they want to name themselves as. I don't care. I'm looking for the applause of one. I'm looking to hear God speak. I'm not a man pleaser. I'm a God pleaser. If that means that everybody is against me, that doesn't matter. I will rather receive that and receive the applause of Jesus than I would to get on the ends and in the good places so that everybody likes me. I'm not in this to get everybody to like me. I'm in this because God wants voices on the earth. He wants people to speak truth and righteousness. He wants people to speak his word because that's what it is. It's about what he says. You don't live based upon every word that proceeds out of your mouth. You live based upon every word that proceeds out of his mouth. You want something coming out of his mouth today. You can feast on that. You can live on that. God will sustain you on that. And particularly in this fast, you know, when we read through Jesus fasting for 40 days in the desert, he talks about the fact that in one of those situations where he's tempted by the devil, he said, man doesn't live on bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. There's something that we have to understand, that the very things that will give us life, the things that will give us energy, the things that will give us the ability to continue on are the words of life he's speaking into us. So receive the words of life. Don't receive words from the naysayers and sometimes even receiving words from the yaysayers on foolishness and foolish things. Sometimes I feel like it's like people are asking us to weigh out junk, and it's like, why do I want to weigh out junk? That's junk. There's nothing good on that. There's nothing of God in that. It's your opinion. It's your idea. But God's not after opinions. God's not looking for advisors to help him understand what he should be saying on the earth. God is the Word. He is the voice. And he is the one that we want to speak for as he releases that to us. Do not be caught in compromise. Do not be caught in a committee that is telling you this is what you have to vote. It's sad. Many years ago, I remember as I was pastoring in a church, the church wanted me to make decisions based upon what their opinions were. And it was so sad because there were things that just weren't even correct. They weren't right. And I had to come to the reality that, God, I don't know what you want me to do, but I've got to speak correctly. I have to speak wisdom. I have to speak truth into the situation. Will you help me? And I did. And, there was a lot of tension as a result of that. There were some things that we had to process through. There were things that I had made choices that to this day I do not regret. But yet it was so difficult for some people who wanted to function by that same religious spirit that they had always functioned by. Don't let a religious spirit dictate to you what God wants to say to you. Don't let a religious spirit dictate to you that you need to follow a religious spirit. There comes a time where you have to be a Micaiah and says, what my God says is what I'll speak. There comes a time where we have to be like Paul and Peter and say, I'm not going to deny the Lord. I'm going to walk after his way. And if you put me in prison, you put me in prison. If you beat me, you beat me. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's not my problem. I have to speak and do what the Lord has called me to speak and say and do. So today, listen to his voice. It's the only really worthwhile voice out there that can lead you in all truth. And that truth itself will set you free. So walk in freedom today, knowing Jesus, knowing that the applause of one is worth everything. Bless you. You have a great day.